KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk radio. I'm Bill Carroll. I told you this Fullerton Police beating story has legs. Just on the Google News page a second ago, and it popped up in their news stories for the first time now. It's starting to trend nationally and internationally. It's getting bigger. I think there are two reasons for that. One is the victim, Kelly Thomas's dad, Ron, who's just incredibly emotional and articulate and just, he's all over these guys on council and police about it, and he's doing a great job. The other reason, frankly, is the John and Ken show. I like to try to give cops the benefit of the doubt. I think it's a tough job, and it's easy to look and say, they used excessive force here. But, you're right in the middle of it, and some guy's punching and kicking at you and trying to escape. I think, it can look worse than it really is. But every time I'm driving home and listen to John and Ken show, and they've dug up some new piece of information, they got some new source, you just think, man, I don't know how you come to any other conclusion. So if Fullerton Police have videotape that exonerates their 6 officers, they better get it out there. I'll be surprised if it does. I'll be surprised if that videotape.
We might have seen it.
Yeah.
If it were that clear cut.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be listening to John and Ken this afternoon. They'll have new information, no doubt. But here's something we have. We got an email this morning. I just mentioned it to you. It said, Bill, I'm in possession of information that is yet another significant blow to the Fullerton Police Department. My associate very recently completed a trial in Fullerton on the following facts. Then he outlines the facts. We have his associate who actually dealt with this situation on the line. David Borsari is a criminal defense attorney. David, thanks for talking to us today. We appreciate it. Got you now, David?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Take us through you can give me as much or as little information as you think is appropriate here. Client's name if you want, or make up a name, but tell me who the client is and what they did or were alleged to have done.
Sure. Okay. So it's last fall of 2010. Client walks into my office. He says, I've been charged with battery on a police officer, assault on a police officer, and resisting arrest. Fullerton Police. He says, I was just standing there, and I got hit for no reason, and then they arrested me, and I got charged with this stuff.
But you didn't believe that.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, we get a lot of this.
Yeah.
I have a lot of cases like this. He says, but there's something different. I've got this on video. So, my ears kind of perked up. We took a look at it, and sure enough, it shows that he's standing there, and he, gets hit for no apparent reason. I thought to myself, this is going to be the easiest case of my life. I'm going to go into the prosecutor's office. I'm going to sit down with the prosecutor, show him the video. This thing will get dismissed in record time. I'll be on to the next matter. Well, it didn't play out that way. As you know, it had to go all the way to a jury trial 8 months later, and finally he got vindicated with all not guilty verdicts about a month ago.
All right, so why is he videotaping at all if there's nothing going on? Why was a tape rolling on this?
Yeah, well, I never said there was nothing going on. Here's what happened. It's late at night. The bars are getting out in downtown Fullerton, and he sees his friend getting arrested, and my client perceives the force that's being used against his friend to be unlawful. Now, I should say at this point that his friend, who became a co-defendant, was found guilty of resisting. But anyway, my client sees what's happening. He feels upset about it. And instead of interfering, which surely would have been a bad decision, or running away, he takes out a video camera on his cell phone and starts videotaping his friend's arrest. While he's doing this, he's standing there. So, you're watching it from his photographer's point of view as he's holding up his camera. A Fullerton police officer approaches him and just swats him in the face, knocks the video camera out of my client's hand. Fortunately, another civilian picks up the video camera, which is not broken, and it's still running, and then finishes filming while my client's getting pretty aggressively arrested and handcuffed and immobilized.
How aggressive does it get? Can you describe what the tape shows on how aggressive this arrest is?
The first part is a police officer who just comes up and smacks him point blank range, and in doing so knocks the phone out of his hand. And then they show him getting, thrown around on the floor, kind of like a rag doll. He seems to kind of go limp a little bit. What I thought was more egregious was the smacking of the cell phone out of his hand for no reason. So I've always thought when I reflect on this case that really 4 really bad things happened to my client. First of all, they hit my guy for no apparent reason. Secondly, they arrested for a crime that he didn't commit. Indeed, he was a crime victim as far as I'm concerned. They then write police reports which falsely describe my client committing a crime. And finally, one of them takes the witness stand and testifies under oath that my client was choking a police officer when the video clearly showed that he was not.
Well, their report and their testimony went into some detail, right, about how your client jumped on the officer's back, wrapped his arms around the officer's throat, tried to injure the officer, but the whole incident is on videotape, and the videotape doesn't show any of that.
That's exactly right. So I kept thinking to myself, what are the police going to say when this case goes to trial? I mean, I've got the goods here. What they said was one police officer testified that he had to pull my client off the arresting officer while my client was sort of on the arresting officer's back and choking him with my client's hands around his neck. What the police officer who testified said was, I pulled him off. It happened before the video started, which is the only thing he could say, right?
Yeah.
The problem is, upon close examination of the video, my client and I discovered that you can actually see this police officer's car, patrol car, approach the scene in the background. You can see him get out of the car, and he's on camera for the whole time until my client gets arrested and immobilized at the end. So there's no window of opportunity for my client to do this during the entire duration of the video.
Well, why would they go ahead and charge your client and write that report if they knew there was a video of it?
I don't know, Bill. You know, I guess you'd have to ask them. It could be a combination of things. I think that sometimes misdemeanors with the high volume of things that happen are not looked at closely. I think the prosecutor who prosecuted the case, who I happen to think is a very intelligent and ethical prosecutor, I consider her a friend, I think she got handed the case at the 11th hour. I think she wanted to make sure she talked to everyone she could, and next thing you know, we're in the middle of trial, and this comes out. But still, I'll tell you, I don't understand how someone who listened to the officer's testimony and saw the video could not conclude that the officer lied on the witness stand.
Well, if your client was cleared, they did conclude that.
Oh, right. But, you know, the police administration, the DA's office, I mean, it was out there for everyone to see. It shouldn't have had to go to a jury trial verdict, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I don't know how it did. Any of the, because Fullerton Police Department is relatively small, any chance the officers involved in your case are involved in the current one?
Okay, you know, that's a fair question. I have, again, I don't know what's going on with the current one. I've heard rumors. And one of the officers who was rumored to be one of the 6 at the current case was the officer who hit the phone out of my client's hand, but I don't know for certain that he was at that second case. I haven't seen that video. I guess no one has. But his name has been mentioned.
Thank you. We appreciate this. This is interesting information, and I think it closely enough resembles the current case that you know, if these are the same cops, it certainly shows that people are quick to lose their temper and go out of their way to try to cover it up.
Thanks, Bill. You're always welcome.
Appreciate it. David Borsari, criminal defense attorney. Pretty similar, right? I mean, it's a smaller number of cops, but for these cops to actually make up that this defendant jumped on their back, tried to strangle them, and then suggest later, well, it was before the videotape. They didn't closely look at it and see that the videotape shows the cop driving up. It was all in real time. Amazing. So you got an assault, you got lies, you got videotape. Other than that, it's not at all like the current case.
You have to wonder in a case like that, does somebody just assume a person may not have the money to go hire a defense attorney, you know, that's really going to be aggressive? And, you know, granted, I know you can be appointed one, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, David's a colleague who wrote us the original email said that the client was only charged with a simple misdemeanor. And given the allegations against him, that surprised them. So I think they were looking, well, just charge him with a misdemeanor. They'll plead it out. This thing goes away. That's probably what it was. This costs all of us. These kinds of police actions cost all of us a lot of money. And I'll give you some numbers on that, real numbers when we come back. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk radio. I'm Bill Carroll.